And well, that's and then I'm gonna let that. Hi, welcome to Titi's Kitchen. Today I'm gonna make some stuffed shells with cheese and meat sauce. And I'm gonna put some spinach in the shell so we can have our green vegetables, our vitamins from the green spinach. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some water to boil the shells, and I'm gonna have that warming up while I prepare something else. So I'm gonna just fill up my pot. And while that's filling up, I'm gonna come over here, and the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put on my gloves. Gloves on. Before I put on my gloves, I'm gonna wash my hands. So my pot should be okay. Filled up. So I really like this recipe. And it's a good pasta recipe. A lot of people that have had it have really enjoyed it, and so I'm hoping that you'll like the recipe. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Subscribe, like, share, whatever. Okay, let's get started. All right, so we're gonna put our water on for our shells. Cut the stove on, cover it up. So that's warming up. In the meantime, I'm going to do a little quick wash and dry my hands and put on my gloves. You don't have to wear gloves, but I'm very particular. I don't like touching food and stuff, so that's just me. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wear these gloves, and I'm going to prepare the meat. Okay, so I got my gloves on. I just want to remind you that all you're doing here is bringing the water to a boil. You can put it on high. I never like to do that. I just like to put it below high. Just force a habit. You can put it on high. You can put it on warm. It just depends. It's on you. But as long as you bring it to a boil. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, I have my trusty pot that I can plug up here. I'm going to put just a little bit of water in it. Not much, maybe half a cup is good. And I'm gonna bring it and plug it up. If you don't have one of these, you can use a skillet, a pot, any kind of pot will do. And I'm gonna plug that up, and I'm gonna put that on medium. So at about 350. And so I'm going to rinse my hamburger meat. I got the 80 lean, and the reason being is because the fat of the meat gives it a little flavor. So, but you can use the 90%. It's up to you. So what I'm gonna do here, excuse me, is I'm going to rinse this off. Always rinse off your meat. Okay. And drop it in the pot. So I'm going to drop it in there and let that start cooking. Then I'll break it up. But in the meantime, that's it for now. So we're going to take a pause for the cause until the meat start cooking and the water start boiling. Then I'll come back. All right. Okay, so I took my gloves off because I don't want to contaminate anything. And then I'll put some more on if I need to. Okay, so right now I got my Hunt's ketchup, no salt added. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rinse the top off and open this up. So that open. And then we have our spinach. I'm gonna just prepare everything and have it ready. If I can figure out how to open this. There we go. I figured it out. It's not gonna be that difficult. You can get a bag of spinach, or you don't have to put any spinach in. I just wanna do that because I had some extra spinach. So I'm gonna leave that there. It looks like a salad, but it's really not. Okay, and so I have a little bit left of my parsley and garlic, which I've already done the recipe, but I'm gonna do it again. Then I have my sofrito, can't do anything without that. And some oregano, and some salt, and of course my sazon. So, let's check on the meat. The meat is basically not boiling yet, but that's okay. We're going to break it up. Actually turn it over. And the reason I'm doing this is because I'm gonna take some of that fat out. So we can just kind of break it up, you know, take some of the, it's a little frozen, so it'll cook as we go along. But in the meantime, you have to crunch this up really good. Break it up. And we'll continue to let it cook for a minute. And while that's cooking, we'll check on the water to see if the boiling water is good for the shells. So what I'm gonna do now is put a little bit of salt. I don't know, maybe a tablespoon, or I mean a teaspoon or so. So I always use seasoned salt. Try to do it as healthy as I can. So we're gonna drop a little salt in there, and that's basically it. Let it, it's warm enough to where you can put the noodles in. So I'm gonna start opening this thing up. We're going to drop these shells in. You don't want to break them, so you want to take your time putting them in and separate the ones that are in here. This is a trick, because sometimes they get stuck, so you have to kind of pull them apart. You see how they get stuck, and then when you cook them, if you don't take them apart, they'll break up. So we have to juggle with these shells. my goodness. Well, anyway, I'm gonna drop it in and work with that later. So we just drop all these shells in there. This is gonna be so good. I love it. Here's another one that got stuck. There you go. Put them apart. So my plan is to, after I cook them and everything and fix them up, is to freeze some so that I can have some to eat later. And that's my plan. So here we go. So we put that in. We're gonna give it a quick stir. We're gonna give that a quick stir. And just let it cook, let it boil. You gotta watch it because I'm gonna cover it. But I'm gonna leave it a little open so that if it does boil while I'm not paying attention, it won't mess up the stove. Okay, so here we go. We got that done. Always remember, clean up as you go along. This way you don't have much work to do after you get done cooking. That's my philosophy. Clean as you go along. So I push my box, put it in my little trusty trash can, and I can hear the meat boiling. So here we go. So we're gonna continue to break this up. We just want to take a little bit of the fat out, so it can be a little bit healthy. So it doesn't really have to be all the way cooked because it's going to be cooking with the sauce, but I prefer that you cook it all the way through, or at least get it to be brown, because we're going to let this thing cook for a while. So there's no doubt that that meat will definitely be cooked. So we're gonna leave that there for a second and then we're gonna strain it. Okay, that's that. In the meantime, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a bowl and I'm gonna start getting my spinach. I'm gonna organize my spinach. So here we go. I'm going to dump my spinach. Here's my spinach. Throw this away. And I'm just going to have these little leaves. Here we go. We're back with the meat. Here's the meat all broken up into little pieces. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some of the water out and we're going to start making us some sauce. We're gonna cook us some sauce. Salsa. Boricua. Yes, we are. Okay, here we go. So I've broken it up. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it off, unplug the pot, set it there for a second. I'm gonna get a colander. So we got us a colander. Don't forget to always rinse out your stuff. Okay. So here we got our meat. And we're gonna dump it. Put our little pot back. The macaronis are boiling, so we're gonna cut them down a little bit and continue to stir them. You're gonna stir them. It'll be a little while before they're done. Around in there, 350, 300, somewhere around there. Okay, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a little bit of oil and start sauteing my seasonings. So that's what I'm gonna do. So we're gonna have some olive oil. I'm gonna put some olive oil in there. You can use your judgment. I put basically about, I don't know, 1/4 cup of olive oil. Let that, then, let me grab a tablespoon. Rinse it out. Okay. And then I'm gonna put my parsley garlic seasoning in there, which I'm out of. Well, actually, I'm not out of it. I have some in the freezer. So it's time for me to bring my other parsley out. I'm gonna mix that up. I can already smell that flavor. Then I'm gonna take about, I don't know, 2 tablespoons of sofrito. That should be enough. And that really smells delicious. Wow, I can't wait. So you want to bring this to a boil, but then you want to bring it down a little bit to, let's say, I don't know, 250, so it can cook nicely. That smells delicious. Then we're gonna sprinkle some oregano leaves. If you have fresh oregano, that's even better. Put some of that in there. Sprinkle some sazon. Gotta have some sazon to give it color and also flavor. So I normally don't put the whole thing in there. I usually put about a half envelope if I'm gonna make this much. And then I'm gonna let that saute for a minute. And while that's sauteing, it smells so good. Okay, clean as you go. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put the meat back in there. So we're gonna carry the meat and dump it in. And then we're going to saute the meat. And then, so for you guys that don't know what sofrito consists of, remember 5 ingredients: garlic, onion, green pepper, red pepper, and cilantro. The number 5, and that's what this is. Okay, then now we can put in our can of Hunt's tomato sauce. I like to rinse it out with a little bit of water. Just a little bit. Rinse the can out and dump it in there. So that's that. And then we're gonna do our Prego. I use traditional Prego. Don't care for none of that other stuff, cheeses and all that other stuff. So we're gonna dump this in here, the whole thing, because you need all that sauce for your shells. So I'm gonna take a little bit of water, rinse this out. And actually, we are gonna add a little bit of water later, but for right now, we just do this. That in there. And I'll keep the jar because I do crafts and stuff. So we're gonna keep the jar. Put it in here in the sink. And throw the can away. Okay. So after this, we gotta add some salt. So we're stirring, mixing all this good stuff up. If you have any questions on anything regarding the cooking, or actually any other questions, you may want to know something about myself, feel free to comment and ask questions. I'll be more than happy to respond. Okay, so basically now you have to season, you have to add the salt. I usually leave the salt for last. Oh my God, it's so good. So I'm gonna sprinkle a little salt. You just do that to taste. And we're gonna raise this up to get it to a nice boil to around 350. There you go. And then we'll come back and give it another twirl and then taste it again. And then we're gonna simmer it for a while. So here we go. That's that. So we're gonna let that sit until it comes to a boil. In the meantime, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put all my ingredients back. Because the more you clean up behind yourself, the more you'll enjoy your meal. Trust me. So I put my salt back. My sofrito back in the refrigerator, and my oregano in the cabinet. And then I will get all this stuff, put it in the refrigerator. Actually, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna stir it. Stir my noodles. I'm gonna stir my noodles, make sure my noodles are cooking well. As you can see, they're getting larger, which makes it fun because then you can do the cheese. And that reminds me, we gotta get our cheese together. And we'll separate these when they get done. So here we go with that. That in here, and this in here. Then we'll get a little plate. To put our spoon. That can go over here. And we have a spoon area to fix our stuff. So now we're going to get the cheese. And what we have, I'm gonna use three cheeses. I'm gonna use some mozzarella cheese. I like the block, and I like to break it up myself. And ricotta. And this is 3 cheeses. Parmesan, Romano, Asiago cheeses. Comes in a, there we go. So we're gonna use those 3 cheeses. And so that's basically it. We're gonna take a pause for the cause while I grate the cheese and prepare the cheeses. And we'll come back. Okay, so here we are with our meat. You see how it's boiling? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give it a nice stir, and then I'm gonna let it simmer. Let that tomato sauce really cook well. So, and then, but before I do that, I'm gonna taste the sauce and make sure that, you know, I have enough salt in it. So let me grab a spoon real quick. Rinse it out. taste my sauce. Sauce. It's so good. You can use a little bit more salt, so I'm gonna just add a little bit more. I didn't put that much in it. Be careful when you use Himalayan sea salt because it is saltier than your regular Morton salt, the white salt. So you have to really be careful. But since this is the only one I use, I'm used to it. So here we go. So I'm gonna, there we go. I think that should be enough. It kind of tends to stick together. So I'm just gonna give it another stir, and then I'm gonna let that simmer for about maybe an hour. Let it cook nice and slow. You want your stuff really slow. Even if you're gonna put it in the oven, it should still be cooked very well. So I'm gonna put it on like 200. There you go. So I have it on 200. I'm gonna let that simmer, and then when we come back, I'll have my cheeses grate. My mozzarella cheese will be grated, and then we're gonna stuff the shells. So we're gonna pause for the cause, and I'll see you back in Titi's kitchen. Well, we're back at Titi's kitchen. We're gonna we're putting it together. As you can see, I've already started some. But I want to show you, let me finish this one and I'll show you one from scratch. I mean, from the beginning. As to how I make my stuffed shells. And then we can put them in the oven. Let them bake. As you can see on my pan, I don't have no sauce in the bottom. The reason that is because when I get done filling the shells, I'm gonna pour the remaining sauce, and it will, as it warms up, is gonna actually reach to the bottom. So that's the reason why I didn't put that, because I didn't want to waste more of my sauce than I needed to. So let's make one from scratch. So here we have the noodles that I baked. That I boiled. I apologize. And so here's a noodle. We're gonna put a piece of spinach in the bottom of the shell. Then we're gonna take a little scoop of, not much, you know, just a decent amount. Push it with your thumb and push it in there, you know, of the ricotta cheese. We're gonna take a little bit of mozzarella, pour it in there, and then we're gonna take some of this 3 cheese, Romano cheese, Asiago, and Parmesan. Just a little bit. Remember that less is more. And then we're gonna take 1 tablespoon of sauce, a good scoop of sauce, throw it in there, and then another little bit of mozzarella and put it on top. We're gonna close the shell and we're gonna lay it on top somewhere. We're gonna find a spot. So there you go. And then we'll continue to do that until we're done, and then we'll pour the sauce. But let me pause for the cause, and when I get done, I'll show you what it looks like. So we're gonna take a minute, okay? All right. Okay, we're back. So I've stuffed my shells. Now I'm gonna put some meat over the shells, as such. As such. And then, what we gonna do is we're gonna sprinkle a little bit more mozzarella on top. There you go. Sprinkle a little bit more mozzarella. So what I've done is I've left a piece of the block of mozzarella that I had earlier. So what I'm about to do is grate this mozzarella. That was the reason I left the piece for the top. So we're gonna grate this as such. And then, nice and, softly. And then what we're gonna do is gonna sprinkle that stuff on the top and stick that baby in the oven for about maybe 30 to 45 minutes. We'll put it in the oven for about 30 to 45 minutes and till it's nice and melted, as you can see. So here's the cheese. So we're gonna put a lot of cheese on top. Here you go. And when it gets done, I'll try a piece and let you know how it turns out. So, my hands. Okay. So here we go. So here's the pan. We're gonna stick it in the oven at 350 for 30 to 45 minutes until golden brown, until it's melted. So there you go. That's it. So we're gonna take a pause for the cause while I clean up, and then we're ready to taste the stuffed shells. All right. So here we go. We're back at Titi's kitchen. We're done with the stuffed shells. And we're gonna take them out the oven. And look at this beauty. Oh my God. So we're gonna lay it down. Should let it rest for a few minutes, but for video purposes, I'm gonna try me a little piece. And here we go. Stuffed shell. There's the liquid I told you we was gonna have. That's why I didn't want to put anything in the bottom. And so we're gonna crack this baby open. And here we go. Let me see what it tastes like. All that mozzarella and cheese and stuff. Delicious, y'all. Absolutely delicious. You gotta try it. It's very good. I love it. Okay, y'all. This is it. Stuffed shells.